Hello and welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast. My name is Matt Lees and I'm joined by Steve Burns.
Hello.
Simon Miller.
Greetings.
And Chris Bratt.
Hello.
And already you can tell that the people in the room are sitting in different positions because I have done my traditional
Steve
clockwise.
stole my goddamn chair.
Yeah,
Steve tried to
really
steal my
weird.
chair, but I pulled rank.
Oh. I tried to
No
do
one
that.
steals my chair.
I
You
tried
got
to do
no
that, no
rank,
one
Brad.
listened.
Yeah.
Nobody take the Miller chair.
I like my Miller chair.
How are you doing, guys? It's been a little while since
Yeah,
last
it's
podcast.
good.
A couple of weeks, right?
Christmas done, New Year done, 2014,
Check.
brand new year, time to move forward and party down.
New Year.
Exactly. And with Aladdin. I'm starring in Aladdin this year. I'm very looking
the
forward to it.
pantomime?
Yep, very looking forward to it. I'm going to be playing the Genie's Lamp.
Are you actually?
That wouldn't be the starring. That wouldn't be the starring role. That would be just a piece of equipment. They
It could be.
have on
It could be a reworked version in which the
Genie
genie's
lamp
lamp
takes centre stage.
somehow takes.
Yep.
I'm not sure how that worked.
Is it based on the Mega Drive version or the SNES version?
Oh.
The only way I can
okay.
see that
Every
happening, I've got to be honest, the only way I could see the genie's lamp taking a starring role in a reworked version of Aladdin would be if it was an erotic version involving oil and lots of rubbing.
I'm up for that. Sounds amazing.
Right now.
Right up my
right now,
street.
someone
But
just
anyway.
gone,
Yeah, I'll do that.
Somebody's just taken notes and gone, oh my God, it's
Yeah,
genius.
put Adam Sandler in
Genius.
it.
Make another wish come true. Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, anyway, it's been Christmas, hasn't it? So I've actually played some games.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I got
I like
a
to
bit of
hear.
Really rare.
Yeah.
What have you guys been playing over Christmas?
Oh, what a tease. I thought you were going to tell us.
No, I thought what have you guys been
I
doing?
played old games and new games. So, I kind of switched it up. I like to make sure that never forget about the games of yesteryear because they still exist.
Never
and
forget
they
where you
still need
came
to be
from,
played.
Simon.
When I played new Super Mario Brothers U, which I don't like those
That
games.
sounds like the newest game ever.
Well, basically, no.
Except it isn't.
You see family over Christmas and stuff, and my brother's a big Nintendo dude. And
Really?
do you not know that?
No, it's just because you're not such a big Nintendo.
Oh, I see,
dude.
right.
I was surprised.
And obviously, I was talking to him about Super Mario 3D Land and saying, it's really, really good. You're gonna you're gonna love it. It's gonna be really good. And at the time, he was playing new Super Mario Brothers U. So I don't like those.
I hate that it's got the word "new" in it. Really annoys
I
me.
know. So I thought I'd play that for a bit, and I just don't like. I mean, it's okay, but it just feels like the most phoned-in Mario experience you can make.
Especially after you just played one that you thought was one of the best ones.
Well, that's the
years,
thing.
right?
It lacks the creativity and just the polish and the sheen that one has, and that's like really, really disappointing because you think on the Wii, this version of the game sold like 40 million copies or something.
Tons.
Yeah, and on the Wii U, it's on about 2.5 because obviously there's no Wii U's. But you think, I'm not surprised that it didn't sort of capture the same imagination anyway because it feels exactly the same. And when you do compare it to 3D World, it's just night and day. It just feels like they put that one out. Thinking,
That sounds like a
screw it.
really disappointing day. Like I can imagine you had a conversation where you really big up the fact that 3D World is just this great game, and then you go and play a lesser one instead.
Yeah, but I mean, kids love it. That's the thing. There's a kid
That's a
playing
shit
it.
excuse, though, isn't it?
I know, but this kid was playing it.
Kids.
This kid was playing it, and she thought it was the greatest thing ever. So sometimes I go, well,
Yeah, but the
if
thing
you
is,
like it that much, I can't really hate it. I
with
guess.
kids, it's like they wasn't that long ago
They
that they
like
were babies.
Skylanders.
In which case, you could just pull a funny face at them, and they think it's the most amazing. Kids
Well, that's true.
think things are amazing because they haven't been exposed to many things. Well,
That's
kids
true.
don't have taste.
Kids don't have to
They
have
don't
a
have
t-shirt.
taste. I mean, sometimes they have a bit of taste. Like I'm kind of weirdly lucked out in retrospect because actually lots of the games I liked when I was a kid ended up actually being good, and I don't know how I
That's
managed
always
that.
nice to find out, isn't it?
Yeah, but
I played some weird
it's not
games.
even like that I had good taste though, because I didn't back then we didn't have demos, and I wasn't buying games that my friends already had. I think I was just quite good at looking at the back of boxes.
There was quite a bit of luck involved.
Good work.
Because I just spent hours in W.H. Smith's or whatever, just going around looking at all the boxes and trying to work out
So
which
which one
games
you
were
want, yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Because they didn't even really have that many box quotes on boxes back in those days either,
can't
did
even
they?
The
remember.
Mega Drive versions had like different languages, didn't they? So you had like 4 screenshots.
Yeah.
And then 4 different like kind of e-figs sort of
And it would
thing.
just describe what the game was.
Yeah.
It would just say like a 2-player
It's an
shooter action game with co-op action game. Can you stop the evil Baron?
Yeah.
Yes.
What game is that? Mega Drive.
Road Rash.
Road.
Stop the evil Baron. It was I think it was Gunstar Heroes. I probably
I've
didn't even
been
say it on the box.
reading
Makes more
Road Rash
sense.
all these years.
But yeah, no, it didn't do that. Oh, actually, even if it did, like back in those days, people take the piss out of game reviewing now, but Jesus Christ, like in the 90s, it was like everything got 90%.
Yeah, everything. That's all you have to do is turn up. 90%.
Great graphics, guys. Good job. 90.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? Though, because kids do like it. So
They like
Nintendo
everything,
Go,
yeah.
brilliant. We've achieved. See, that was pretty rubbish. Not rubbish. It's just I don't get them.
No,
really.
I think rubbish is fair.
Okay,
I really didn't like them.
It lacks that Mario, spark, which all Mario games should have, unless it's one of his stupid flipping offshoots like Mario Party 9, Mario goes to Bermuda or whatever. But apart from that crap, which I get is just, I don't know why it exists. I don't know why it exists. One Mario Party was enough. We're up to now like Mario Party 92.
Mario Party was fucked, man, because like the first Mario Party was so much fun.
Yeah.
And it was fun because it had really good minigames.
That's it. It was a really good idea.
And then they just kept adding more and more minigames in the next ones, which were like, loads of the mini games weren't fun.
No.
And they made it so like each board, like they made the boards bigger. So like rather than being a party game,
I did.
Instead of being a party game, do you want to play Mario Party? Everyone was like, no, because it takes
I
like
haven't got that much time.
it takes like 2.5 hours like, to get around the fucking board.
It was fucking bollocks.
It was mental. I don't know who was in charge of the design of that series, but honestly, they should have been
There's
fired.
another one coming out next month.
Yeah, they should just kill them all.
But I played Walking Dead. Well, I say that.
brilliant.
I played half of the first episode.
Yeah, I've played.
How? It's not even that long.
I don't have a lot of time. But I sat down with good intentions and then things happened. I was like, oh shit, I can't play it. But, it's difficult to talk about because obviously without the full context.
You played half of the first episode.
Yeah,
I get the feeling it hasn't
how
captured you, has it?
Well, no, but I played half the first
Yeah,
episode.
But yeah,
so
like
it's
if you had really enjoyed it, you would have played the entire thing.
To be honest,
like,
No, it was a time thing. I had to go-
really?
something came up and I had to go sort it out.
To be honest,
right.
the first episode as well is like a statement of
Yeah.
intent in a way.
It's
It
an
doesn't really,
epilogue, yeah.
it won't grab you in the first episode entirely.
It has. I did the review for the site, and it was. I compared it to the first episode of season 1. You don't know anyone in the group. You know Clementine, who's leading this.
Oh, you're
season,
talking about the second series? I thought you hadn't played the first one. You're talking about the second series.
Yeah.
I haven't played the second
well,
series.
No, talking about the first episode of the second series.
It's a similar kind of feeling. It's great to see Clementine go into this role, but the characters she meets, you don't really
Careful
know.
now,
It's all-
Braz.
well, there's a new group.
I know.
There's always going to be a new group.
Just warning you.
Okay, I'm being very careful.
But I'm sure it will be good, like I say. But like all of those kind of games, the first one is just setting the scene mostly anyway. So I basically set the scene for half an episode, then stop.
I still don't know what the scene is, to be honest. It doesn't really set it that well. It kind of explains where Clementine's up to, and that she's a slightly different person than you may have thought originally. But I don't know what the story of this season is going to be. Whereas in season 1, you kind of know that Lee's got to look after this little girl. He needs to try and find her parents or make sure she survives. That's your goal.
Yeah.
There isn't a goal yet. I don't know.
I think that's why I haven't played it yet because I want to wait until there's a few more. I'm a bit concerned about it, and the same reason that I didn't play the DLC for BioShock Infinite, where they're under the sea, with Rapture, because I read the reviews of it, and it basically said the phrase that kept popping up, which terrified me, was that it was like walking through a museum, and that to me was how I felt about BioShock Infinite, and I felt that was the game's biggest failing, was that it purported to be a living world, but actually it didn't feel like a living world. It felt like a museum. And the thing about Rapture that I love is you see Rapture in BioShock. It's a great dystopia, and it's all about you imagining what this world would have been like. And I think the process of actually creating that world as it exists is dangerous, because then it means that if it ends up being a bit worse than your imagined version, which it sounds like
The
it
Star
was.
Wars prequel problem. Right?
Yeah, it kind of, it's like getting an old VHS tape and overwriting your own memories with something that's not as good.
Never go back.
Yeah,
never
and
watch Knight Rider again. Let it be in your mind.
No, that's-
It's watching you like.
Well, so you're worried that season
dog
2 will
shit.
spoil your view of the first one?
Specifically Clementine, because I think that what was so genius about the first
wrapped up
series.
perfectly.
It was a perfect ending, and also the thing is that the premise of kind of the emotional premise of the first series, if you forgive the horribly wanky term, was that the idea that you were looking after a girl and she wasn't your daughter, and that was the genius of it. Because it doesn't matter who you are, that's a human thing that anyone can relate to, is looking after a child. Games always make that mistake, and I've said this before, games make that mistake of being like, hey, you've got to save your girlfriend or your son from the baddies. And you're like, well, it's not my girlfriend or my son.
It makes the link feel a bit more real, because
It was an exact parallel. You met Clementine at the same time as the main character did. There was an emotional parity between you and the character and the relationship with that girl. And I think that I'm not sure how I feel about playing her, and I've held off for that reason.
I had the exact same thing. We did a video on that idea after I played the first one, because we kind of discussed it when Clementine was first announced as the lead character. It's like, really, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but he's ended up complementing it very well. I think, because the view you have of Clementine in the first season, as you say, is you're on a parallel with Lee. You see her through Lee's eyes. It's this girl. This like. She's young. She's hasn't got a parents. You've got to look after her. She's very innocent, bright-eyed, all that kind of stuff. And you always see her through Lee's eyes, like that. You see that character, and that is who Clementine is. But in season 2, it kind of fleshes it out a little bit more, shows you that there is more to her than just being the young innocent girl. Because you know when you have like a dialogue option in the Walking Dead, it brings up 4 choices. You kind of get to see what's going through her head at the same time. It's like, do you respond with anger or do you respond with kindness? If you want to take it at a base level, and because of that, you get to see that she's much more aware of herself. Very early on, when I met this new group, and you're not sure what the situation is going to be like, for reasons I'm not going to go into, they're suspicious of Clementine. They've just met her. And I had an option to like use puppy eyes, essentially. Like, that's not something I ever thought Clementine knew that she could do. Like, it was something because
I totally agree with your point. It's just like the fact, I can use my puppy eyes.
No, it's just in
I
season
forgot
1.
I had them in my inventory.
in season 1, that works on you because you see those puppy eyes and you go, right, we're defending this girl.
No, I get you.
Else.
I get you.
And the fact that she knows that she has that ability is ace. And later on, you kind of, some of the conversation options you wouldn't expect from her, and it doesn't change the character. It just shows there's something, there's more to her than you gave her credit for, and that's really nice to find out.
And I say no spoilers whatsoever, but it starts amazingly. Like, they don't pull any punches. So fair play to them for stating their statement of intent.
I'm not surprised to see that. They definitely came back thinking, right,
let's start strong.
We've got to make sure we haven't lost our
I don't know. I haven't played it yet. I haven't played the 400 days either.
I think you should wait until it's all there as a chunk.
Well, I don't know,
think it's more fun.
Last time I played it, I played them all on day of release, and I kind of enjoyed the kind of TV style thing of being part of the conversation.
The conversation that goes along with it.
So I probably should, but I'm just a bit afraid of it. I think it's like, for me, it's a sign of a game that's really good. If I love a game so much, I'm always mildly fearful of the sequel.
I was in the exact same situation.
I've been burned too many times, man.
I take going back to just a quick point. I'm literally just going to say this, and then we'll move on. You mentioned about creating relationships and how you make them care. Ico did that fantastically well. She didn't ever explain anything. It just let you. How do you feel about this thing?
Yeah, a lot of games managed to do it so well without dialogue. I know last year a game we didn't really probably talk about as much as we should, but Brothers did that really, really well. You care a hell of a lot about the relationship between these two characters, and you can never understand a word they say to each other, which is
because it's
a hell of impressive.
I think we were arguing about this, weren't we, Miller? We were arguing. We were talking about it over Twitter over Christmas about Man of Steel, about the ending of Man of Steel, where, spoiler alert, he smashes Metropolis to pieces.
What?
And we were arguing about in-universe actions.
Zack Snyder film there, so I don't give a shit.
In-universe actions versus other stuff. And I think with kind of Ico and Brothers, what we're talking about is those games outline their universe so clearly, even when you don't actually understand what they're saying, that it just seems very natural, everything they do. So you're like, of course I've got to hold this girl's hand because this is the universe. But in other games and films, when suddenly the characters start doing stuff that you're like, that would never happen, that's when it all breaks. And so for Superman, I can buy that Superman can fly around. Of course, it's Superman. But as soon as he starts smashing Metropolis to pieces, I understand why people are like, but what about Superman? I thought he was... And so that's with games and with films and with anything else. I think that as long as it remains internally consistent, then that's fine. And I suppose with Walking Dead Season 2, the greatest part is that what you consider to be internally consistent has changed. So with the puppy dog eyes, what you considered, she's not like, she wouldn't, she did that to you. You're like, oh shit, now she's doing
played
it,
me
now
all
I'm
along.
doing it to other people. Yeah, so
I actually, to go on from a slight tangent, I'm really excited about whenever they bloody continue it, The Wolf Among Us.
That's what I played over Christmas. I played the first episode.
Because the problem is, at the moment, it's something that's video games are failing in the fact that all of these games where you do actually manage to have this relationship, this sort of parity where you feel connected to the situation. To be blunt, they're all situations where it's either like, it's just all like blokes looking after young girls, really. Ico, Last of Us, Walking Dead. I mean, some of them have done it better than others, but essentially it is like the emotion they aim to get us to feel attached to is a guy looking after a girl.
Yeah.
Or no, or actually a basic level, like somebody looking after somebody younger or somebody protecting someone. A feeling of you having to protect somebody who they can't protect themselves. But that games can, I get annoyed with that because I think that this power that games have to make you feel really emotionally connected to a situation, you can use it for anything. And obviously Shadow of the Colossus and Papers, Please, as the recent TV thing I did, was like, that makes you feel bad. And I like the Wolf Among Us because it's like your role is clearly to keep the peace, but because you're playing the big bad wolf, there's a beast inside of you that wants to just fucking tear people's faces off. And having that character, you'd love it, man. It's some middle of the game. But yeah, no, I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I played it over Christmas. I really liked the choices that game offered, more so than the first episode of season 2 of The Walking Dead. You kind of see some of those, the big choice in each episode. You kind of see it coming after playing the first season because you know how the format works.
I didn't see the twists in The Wolf Among Us.
Yeah, that was ace. I really enjoyed it. I think it helps a lot because I think both of us went into it without reading Fables, the comic. And so
I think so.
On one hand, all these characters are new to us, and I really, really liked meeting new characters and trying to figure out who they were.
Yeah,
that was like such a fun experience, and you get that because we didn't know the source material.
Yeah, totally. A lot of people are like, "Oh, definitely read the comics first." Completely disagree. I loved it how it's like, "Who's this?" And you're like, then you realize what fairy tale they're from.
Yeah,
and
and like there's kind of things you can interact with to try and figure out that as well. Like that, you have the Book of Fables, and you can kind of see. Like the fairy tale versions of the characters and compare them to what they look like now. And
even I like the way that they use aggression as a mechanic in the way that because you are a fearsome bastard, it's
you have to use that sometimes.
You have to, but I like the way that it isn't that simple polar thing that games do with morality of do you want to be the nice guy or the bad guy?
Yeah.
In this, it's usually like there's one bit where there's a guy who's not telling you the truth, and you know he's not telling you the truth, and you can either choose to spend some time going around investigating and building up evidence, so you can basically say to him, "Look, I've got this case of evidence, you're not telling me the truth, tell me the truth." Or, and I'm assuming it works, at any point you've got the option to basically just be really aggressive and intimidating.
I know the exact situation you're talking about, and I did the first one to start with, and like I kept proving this guy wrong. I was like, "Listen, I can see that you've done something's gone on here, tell me what it is." And he kept sidestepping me every time.
So you
I just got frustrated with him, and I think the whole game is based around that because you played the big bad wolf. It's kind of like kind of says it in the name, but you're the good character in it to an extent.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea that it's like you're always trying to remain patient and take the long route, but it's like aggression is always a shortcut to you, but there will be consequences to that, and not just consequences of being like, "Oh, you're evil now." It's like, again, that kind of personal relations thing, which Telltale seem to have kind of taken as their own.
Yeah.
And Game of Thrones is coming out. Oh, that's going to be so good.
That's got to be good. They don't screw that up, Telltale.
I really hope
don't Jurassic Park that shit.
I really hope they do what the Borderlands. I don't care.
I'm the same.
I don't know why. I just don't.
But does anyone play Borderlands for the story?
Well, people do, and they're idiots.
Oh, okay. I don't know anyone that does.
I think some people play for the characters in a way. Handsome Jack was a very entertaining character.
Yeah, but the characters in their shooty, fun environment. Yeah. Not I'm going to investigate your character on a deep level kind of a way.
I don't get how it works.
I don't know.
To be fair, like they did actually do some really good characterization and plot development in Borderlands 2. It surprised me. I enjoyed the story. But at the same time, it's flippant and it's
surely you
funny.
never sat there and thought, "Oh, I'd love it if they really sort of focused on this and pulled it aside as their own episodic."
I don't think it works.
Adventure.
I don't think it works in a grey way.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. It's that is the black and white, isn't it?
Borderlands 2 managed to pull at my heartstrings in ways I wasn't expecting, but it was very black and white stuff. You know, it was like these people are evil,
which is never what the Telltale games I've played so far.
No,
that's not. They don't do black and white. It's never black and white. The choices aren't good,
and that's why Game of Thrones is the perfect choice.
Yeah, exactly. That suits it perfectly. Just because that's how that story works. Yeah. Everything's grey in there.
Everything is grey.
The black and white characters don't usually.
They don't last long. The black and white characters in Game of Thrones do badly. The people who are like inherently, blatantly super evil, they don't fare too well in the end. The people who are fucking shiny knights in armor, oh god, they don't do well. Like, men of morals, you're in trouble.
Yeah, they're fucked.
But I mean, reading the books and actually the really crappy RPG that came out last year for Game of Thrones was surprisingly good. I mean, I say surprisingly good. I gave it a 6 out of 10. It was crap. But having read the books, they really captured that sense of like one of the main characters you play, because you play as two different characters, and the story between chapters went back and forth between them, and their paths eventually met in traditional narrative way.
And I wonder if that's something they're planning to do with this. Because episodes could work as like chapters, but
it did work really well in that because the two characters did meet eventually, and their storylines did cross over.
Yeah.
But the way they crossed over was really interesting, and it wasn't at all what I expected. And I also really like the way that one of the main characters you played in the Game of Thrones RPG was like this really good guy. He was like traditional RPG character, Shining Knight.
Yeah.
Oh,
And upon getting to... well, no, he didn't
Okay.
get killed, but upon getting to King's Landing to go and speak to the Queen, because...
good guy's going to speak to the Queen at King's Landing. Come on, this is a classic. Don't do that.
I
Don't
know,
do that.
it's amazing, because it's just like he gets back to the land and his younger bastard brother has taken his lands, and he's like, well, they're my lands by rights. I'm going to go and speak to the Queen. And it's like, well, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, your bastard brother like is kind of helping out the Queen at the moment, which means you're in. And it was that thing of basically, then you had a whole section of the game where you actually have to work with the other guy.
Shit, son.
And in the conversations, which had the Mass Effect style conversations, you had to choose who was going to interact, whether it was going to be you who was going to deal with the situation. You have 2 conversation choices for you or 2 conversation choices for the bastard brother. Mm-hmm. And the difficult thing was sometimes in the situations, you kind of look at the nice guy stuff and you're like, yeah, but we actually need to get the shit done. So you end up actually kind of favouring the bad guy a bit just because he's the guy who... And I found that really interesting, the way you start to realise that despite the fact you like the main character, you start to realise he's a bit...
Wet blanket?
A bit of a wet blanket and maybe a bit too naive about the world.
I'm pretty sure, this is one of the reasons I'm so excited to see a game really delve into the Game of Thrones.
He's so excited, he's wiggling his legs.
Yeah, listen, all right, it's the Game of Thrones. Every RPG game I've played since reading the first book, I always ask myself, what would Tyrion Lannister do? And that pretty much has defined every character I've played since then.
Does it define your life?
Kind of, yeah. I think I'm chaotic good. I think that's happened.
I'd love it if they actually made it with the Telltale thing, if it was episodic, but actually had properly branching stuff where you could actually get your characters killed. That would be amazing. Yeah. Because one of my favourite things, if not actually my favourite thing, apart from the fact that the ending I got for the Game of Thrones RPG, because there were multiple endings, but the ending I got, I thought was an incredible ending. But oh my God, it was one of the darkest and most depressing things. It was just like, sort of like, you don't sit down and go, wow, what a great game. You sit down and put the controller on the floor and go, fuck. That was horrible. But it was satisfying.
Yeah.
Was the fact that you can actually die whilst having a conversation with the Queen, with Sensei. It was a game in which if you made the wrong conversation options, it would be like taken to the dungeons.
Was
game over. At one point she basically offers you a way out, and you goes, "Listen, you could work for me." And if you go, "No, I'm just here to do what is right. I'm here to claim what is legally mine." It's like take him to the dungeons. And that's it. Game over. It's like
shit.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah,
that is cool. I like that. No game should do that.
Well, hopefully Telltale are going to. That's it. Just sounds like such a perfect match, doesn't it? I can't wait to see it.
I want the game over screen to be extinguished. That's my dream.
It would be cool.
Game over.
Not a game where you get taken to the dungeons and now you've got to do the mission where you get the keys and have to escape. But take to the dungeons and now you rot to death.
Exactly.
You're dead.
You made a mistake. Fuck you. I'd love that. I love more games like that. One day.
But yeah, you played anything over Christmas, Steve?
Steve's been playing new games. Steve don't play old shit.
Old shit?
Yeah. I played a game. It was good.
Come on.
Okay, well, we talked about Alien Isolation yesterday.
We did.
A kind of video preview.
Yeah. Let's talk about it again.
And it looks very, very cool, doesn't
Dude,
it?
because I haven't had a chance to watch that yet, so fill me up.
Give us the headline fact.
And put your face closer to the microphone.
It's not an aliens game. It's an alien game.
Yeah,
there's one alien, and so far it doesn't look like the worst thing ever committed to a disc. Which, following Colonial Marines, it's just something. Yeah. So they took their inspiration from Alien rather than Aliens, as I just said. And there's only one enemy. Well, one extraterrestrial enemy. You're on a space station 15 years after the original. You play Ripley's daughter, who's still cut up about mum just disappearing because she's in
I think that's very understandable.
Yeah, it's like, this spaceship blew up and your mum wasn't on it. So, okay. Well, all right, fine.
Onwards we go.
So you go to the sprawl from Dead Space 2, and which is fine because they nicked that anyway from Alien. And when you get there, things have gone a bit wrong. And so there's one...
Why don't you just leave?
Well, I think that when you arrive, you're not aware of the full... So it's going to be like Alien. You arrive...
Yeah, they had no idea.
Yeah, so because...
Why did she go by
I think it's like a...
They were all
modern...
having a laugh,
troll,
weren't they?
sorry.
Yeah.
In the first Alien film, they were like, hey,
it was all jokes for about 40 minutes.
And then they were laughing around the dinner table, and then the guy started choking, and then, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Things went bad.
But I think that the space station itself is quite modular, like the Nostromo was. So you get there, there's other survivors, And probably in some way to Dead Space 2, because that starts, doesn't it, when it's not all gone totally to shit. You're kind of just in the middle of it, and then I think how it works is your umbilical, so like in Colonial Marines, the thing that connects your ship and the station is damaged in classic fashion, so you have to then find a way through the station and out wherever. But it's like a survival horror game. It's like Amnesia with the Alien license, which I know a few people have been clamoring for. And it is genuinely quite scary. You've got no offensive weapons, so it's not like you just pick up a pulse rifle and go,
we've got some gameplay up already.
Yeah.
It's like, your only weapon you said was a wrench, right? And
I had a wrench.
You can pretty much give like a firm tap on the head of the alien.
I pressed R1 by accident while I was hiding behind a comms desk, and it went, and this really pathetic swing of a wrench, and I actually started laughing, and one of the producers was like,
this isn't a game to laugh at. Oh God,
sorry, it's just so
take out the wrench,
But you can make kind of defensive weapons, so I presume that they work like they do in Resident Evil Remake, where if the alien attacks you, you just use them to get rid of it. Like, you can't just like throw them at it.
Yeah.
You can't make a grenade or something, but you can make like thermite charges or whatever. So if it comes at you, you can, because if it hits you and you've
just
got nothing
to
on
weaken it so you can run, basically.
I think from some of the concept art as well that they saw in one of their reveal trailers, in their kind of mini making of called Origin or one of those ones, it's you can get a flamethrower, but I presume that the flamethrower just forces it back because it's doesn't have any flesh. It's like a silicon thing, so it's not gonna.
From what I see, I've seen it just doesn't look like a game in which you're trying to fight the alien. It's just get away from it. But the interesting thing you brought up yesterday was like, how long would you expect a game like that to be? If it's like Amnesia, you'd think like 3 to 4 hours, maybe something along that line. Well, apparently, it's more like 8 to 10. So I don't know how we were talking about. That was the main discussion we had yesterday. How do they extend it? How do they?
I think a few people missed that. A few people who played it, they were so enamored. And I actually think that the demo itself was like a vertical slice. So if you played the demo for Fear, like on Xbox 360, it's just loads of bits stitched together to give you an example of what it will be like. So it won't necessarily be representative of a level from the game. But the problem that I think a lot of people missed was after 20 minutes, I died about 8 times because the alien, it works on like a stalking pattern, and the main problem is with you.
I can't play this game.
So
it's the thought
it reacts.
It
kind of reacts to you, and that's the scariest part. It's like in Alien, I think that a lot of the people in Alien make quite good decisions or logical decisions, and the thing that gets them killed isn't like, oh, now I'm going to run upstairs to this, and the serial killer will be up there. It's just they make human error, and Dallas gets killed in the airlock because he just backs into it, right? He doesn't know it's there, and he's like, right, I want to get out now. He makes a smart choice, and he's killed because of it. And I was killed at a T-junction by this alien trying to get away from it and spinning the motion track around, and it went dead. And I was like, oh, turn around, and it was there. It's terrifying.
Fuck
but
that.
How do you keep that going for 9 hours? Now, they said to me, the producers said, oh, well, we'll have different sections of the game. You'll run into different people. You'll have
vehicle section.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Turret section. Yeah.
where they don't work, and you go, oh.
But you stand there for 4 minutes in a moving helicopter while the turret car in front of you goes, it's jammed. It's still jammed. Shoot it more.
But I mean, I said to a few of the people who were there, I would prefer it if it was about 4 or 5 hours long, just from what I've played. Because I don't know how you can. The movie obviously is 2 hours long, and most of the movie, again, this is a thing that problem that I have with it so far, as most of the original Alien movie is predicated on them kind of working out how it operates, and they're constantly surprised by the size of it or the speed of it or how it uses different parts of its environment to get people. They're and the same with an Aliens, they don't know how they cut the power or how they get into the top of the roof, whatever. I know how all that shit works. I've seen these movies loads of times. It walks around, it fucks people's shit up. Okay, so how do you keep that interesting for 9 hours? Yeah. And after 20 minutes of dying, I was like, I'm going to game it. I'm going to game the game. I'm not playing it, as I would if I was Amanda Ripley.
I guess though that they're going to have to split it up into sections, because the problem is with this sort of thing is that it's like when people were saying, I think Dave was saying yesterday, why the fuck have they put this blurry screenshots out? And it's like, I get it. But it's like, with certain games, it's very difficult to capture what the game is about through showing it in a way.
Yeah.
Like, and the problem, like, in a way, it's weird that
Especially with its atmosphere.
with a demo, it's like you couldn't have a demo of an Alien game and then have like a 20-minute demo where you see the alien for like a second or something, because people would be like,
Yeah.
exactly.
I don't know.
Where's
I
the
think they'd be
alien?
worried that games journalists would go, "Where's the alien?
Yeah, of
Where's
course.
the alien?
Yeah, I totally agree.
I want to see the alien
Yeah,
moving."
and they had to nail this demo, really, didn't they?
Yeah.
Just because of
Whereas,
what's
like,
happened to
in a wo-
aliens in general.
Whereas, like, I get that, but at the same time, in a way, from my experience, like, think of a game like Slender. Like, the scariest bit of Slender isn't. Well, the scariest bit of Slender is seeing Slender, but really the core of the game is about not seeing it.
Yeah, so the build-up terrifies the shit out of you.
And
yeah.
I think with this, I get the impression that if they're going to have a game of that length, then hopefully they've got the pacing right. So in my mind, I'd love it if there was a section where for like an hour and a half,
Yeah.
you're just going around doing stuff on computers,
Yeah.
They were
and
talking
nothing's
about that,
happening.
about how the shadow of the beast, as it were, is always kind of lingering because you don't necessarily know, or the characters don't know where it is or how really to fight
I tell you
it.
what, that's got to be a game to try and not find too much out about before you play it for those
Yeah,
moments
totally.
alone. Just because you've got to have the feeling that it could appear at any time. If you know when it happens, it loses
Condemned
that.
did that really well. Condemned had a constant sense of foreboding, and then you always assume something was going to happen, and it didn't. So
Well, it
what
was
happened
kind of
now, it didn't.
Lynchian though, wasn't it? Because
Yeah, right, it was.
You had a
Yeah.
subtle sense that things were just spiraling off into madness,
Yeah.
and then at the end you realise, my God, things have spiraled off into complete madness.
But it was that sense of something has to happen now because it hasn't happened for ages, and then
Yes.
it didn't. And because it didn't, you were on edge constantly. You thought, well, I don't know when they're going to pull the trigger
only-
on this. They have to do the
Yeah.
same.
That Hitchcock quote about the suspense isn't a bomb going off; it's a bomb under a table not going off.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
when's this bomb going to go off?
And
No, you're right.
there have
Especially
been
like North by Northwest in the fucking auction scene, where it's just like him sitting there, knowing he can't leave.
Yeah.
There have been a few games recently, particularly like in the first-person walk around and find stuff genre, that like
the first person walk around and find stuff
like,
genre.
That is my
that
favourite.
Do really, really cool things because they play on your expectations of what you think a game will do. Like if they can think that, if they can make you think, right, the player is sure the alien's going to be around this corner, then they can start to mess with you throughout the whole thing and extend it. Then they've just. Yeah, it's got to be one of those ones where you've got that constant threat. You never know when it's going to happen, and
It's interesting that you say
keep
that.
going.
It's like with-
you said about the about not knowing, about journalists not knowing how it works and wanting to see the alien. Because the producer said to me, I asked him a question: when was the moment when you realised that you had something good? Because it is good. I referenced one of the houses saying the moment he knew GTA 3 was going to be a hit was when he had the first wireframe carjacking. And he went crazy, and he was like, that is it. That's the moment when he knew all the hard work was coming together. And they said, you know what? For like 2 years, we had no idea whether it would work or not because you couldn't just make the alien. You had to build the lighting model around it, the VFX, its own intelligence system, all of this. And they said they were quite relieved that they hadn't spunked all that money on nothing. And I think that's why they showed it so early in the press tour.
When's it out?
It's late 2014. But yeah, I think that they're still working out exactly how
I guess
it works
my
and
question
where it goes.
is because I think that the only way it could work would be if you did have chunks of the game where the alien simply wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I guess it's what you do in between then. Because I loved it in actually the only bit of Dead Space 2 I found scary was the bit where you went onto the ship of Dead Space 1. There was a period for about 20 minutes after for an action game, which was like bob shooting dead kids, bob. Fun.
Did that a lot, didn't you?
You did. It's fucking ridiculous. Daily Mail. And then you got onto the ship and nothing happened for like ages,
Yeah,
and my
the worst
heart was
bits.
pounding.
because you'd played Dead Space 1, you were sure the moment you walked on that ship, you were going to like everything's going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah, but
So
that
it
only
plays on
works for like a little while. And I think one of the best games for suspense ever was Metroid Fusion on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because it had that thing of at any point your clone version alien thing could appear by blowing up through a wall or just walking through a
That's
door.
And
cool,
Resident
Metroid
Nemesis as
Fusion.
well. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis was like the Terminator.
Yeah.
Like it would just turn up.
Yeah.
And it'd just be hours later and it would turn up and you're like, fuck's sake.
Yeah, it would turn up and you just have to run or
Yeah.
hide. And it would be like, fuck. But the thing was, you'd have that period of whenever it turned up, you'd be like immediately terrified and incredibly intense the whole time. And sometimes you'd have a sense of foreboding building up and you'd expect it to be arriving and it wouldn't and it wouldn't. But then the problem is that doesn't work all the time. And in between, the great thing about Fusion was that in the sections in between where you kind of forgotten about it, there was other stuff to do that was interesting enough that you had that kind of mild suspense, but you'd be like, do. And it's only when you get to the stage of do that when something scary happens, it really fucks you up.
I think that they need. I think that what they need is a lot of player choice. And I think if the reason that why the ship, the space station is so big, and I hope is because one of the main things about Alien and all the Alien films really is that it's not just the thing that gets them killed, it's their own decision making. Like,
you're right.
In Alien, they're like, let's land on this planet. What? But they do because they have the logic of humans that don't live in a movie universe. Like, of course, there's not going to be a space beast down there. It's just a distress signal. And then in Aliens, they're like, of course, well, we just need to get the fuck out of it. And most of their planning is about how do we get out, not let's fight this thing. So I hope there's more of that. Like, we can take different routes.
Is there any objectives? I love there's just no objectives.
Yeah, there are.
I would just much prefer they plonk you in and go survive.
You're there to retrieve the
one objective.
Recorder.
There you go.
Could you imagine that? Like System Shock 2 style, where all you have to do is go around, read computers, and work out what ship you're on, how you're going to get off it.
But it would make it more scary, because you've got this flipping alien thing, which is obviously terrifying as it is. You'd have the atmosphere, which they seem to have nailed. You'd have the lighting. You'd have all the stuff that ties into your nostalgia and everything like that. And all is, get device to save your ass. And that's all you know.
Yeah.
Well, they
reference
reference
terrible because you wouldn't know where to go. You wouldn't know what to do. You're being stalked.
Well, they referenced the original Resident Evil, and I said that was my favourite game of all time. And the reason is because in Resident Evil, you go into a house, and the game just goes, yeah, all right then.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Yeah.
Like, find the keys. Oh, yeah, by the way, the person that made this is insane. So you need like 4 wind crests or something to open an attic where a giant snake
Who
is.
lives in a house like this?
Yeah, exactly. Lloyd Grossman went mad on Gak. He didn't really, if he's listening.
He made all that sauce.
It's good. It's good sauce.
But it'll be good, hopefully. It will certainly... Oh, no, I won't say that. It certainly looks better than Colonial Marines.
Yeah, we never know.
Because Colonial Marines looked good at one point.
Exactly.
I was never completely convinced, but
who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah,
it's a better premise. I think we can all agree on that.
Yes,
Yeah, they seem to be
certainly.
approaching it in a better vibe as well, which is good. So let's keep our fingers crossed and our toes free.
What? I'm going to cross my
I don't
toes as well.
know.
I want all the good looking.
Finally, other stuff I played over Christmas, I caught up with. I finished Link Between Worlds.
You love it, right?
I thought it was fantastic.
Awesome.
In a way that I really find, this is just utterly belittles me as a games journalist, but in a way that I found very difficult to work out why. I know what they've done, and I like that they've simplified things. I like that they've created, as we said, the energy bar, so you don't have to worry about, I've run out of bombs. I would have assumed I would have disliked that.
Yeah, exactly the same, but you don't.
But I
They
don't.
make it work.
I didn't question it.
Yep.
It was just very satisfying. It didn't really seem to do anything special, if you know what I mean. There was nothing about it that I thought, wow, that's genius. I liked the going into walls and popping out. It was just very simple stuff. It captured a simple joy that a lot of games don't. Like I decided I want to collect all 100 Mai-Mais. And
the Mai-Mais
usually
are
in a game, I would just go when it says, hey, you can collect 100 things. And I go, nah.
Yeah, exactly. Never,
Nah,
yeah.
mate. Collect all the intel? Nah, fuck that. I'm just going to shoot some men.
God,
But in
is
this,
there anything more depressing than collect all the intel?
No.
the
Not in real war.
God. Oh,
Important.
whoa. in the context of video games.
But yeah, I didn't 100% it, but I did a lot of it.
I did. I had every now and then I would just want to go and find some. I don't know why.
I didn't get like the best sword. I missed a piece of Master Ore somewhere. I liked it though. I liked it a lot. It wasn't much of a challenge, but I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it
totally
was a
agree.
very simple game.
Yeah.
I loved it, and I loved
with
the
you.
ending. I love the story. It
beautiful.
might not be the best Zelda game I've ever played, but it's really up there.
Yeah, totally agree. 100 million% from me.
It's just fucking lovely.
the
Get
music
buy
still.
buy a
the music,
3DS.
fantastic.
I'm going to get onto Bravely Default next, I think. 'cause
Yeah,
you've been playing the demo of that, right?
Yeah, I think someone very kindly gave a 3DS for me to use.
Must have been Santa
recently,
Claus.
and Bravely Default. The demo is really, really good. I think it's. I've been playing it for about 3 or 4 hours. I've completed it now, and it doesn't do much to show you what the story is going to be like. It vaguely introduces the characters, but it's just all about the combat, which I kind of get the sense is what Bravely Default wants to go for itself. And the combat works really nicely. You can either choose to be brave or to default. So you can you kind of save actions, or you can use them all straight away and try and kill an enemy really quickly. And there's job switching like in the old Final Fantasy games, and it all comes together very nicely. There's I wasn't expecting this. I hadn't really looked into the game that much before playing it. There's quite a bit of social stuff in it, in terms of like you have a village that you're supporting, and it's always running in the background whilst you're going around fighting dragons and stuff. And you kind of build new buildings there, and that will provide new items that you can purchase. But it's all done on a timer. It's kind of like a basic Farmville game or something running in the background without being
Bad sell.
And that is where
I guess though, the thing is, I hate that stuff. for like console games and PC games, because often with those I'm sitting down for a session, and there's nothing I hate more than just switching on and going, oh, what do you mean I can't do something yet?
I only had one point in the game where I had to stop because I didn't have the right things required, and that annoyed me because unfortunately, if you live somewhere, if you like live where we do
street
here,
pass buds,
basically you get more builders for every person you street pass, and that's great down here.
Is it straight up street pass, or do they have to have the game?
They don't have to have default, no. They don't have to have the game.
That's going to be awesome. I'm just going to hang around London Bridge.
But where I live, where my parents live, they don't have streets there. Like, you're not going to meet anyone.
Do you live in a cave?
Pretty much.
Jeez.
Pony cave.
But, so like, I was a little bit frustrating because I'm not used to my JRPGs being social. That's not a word I ever use to describe anything to do with playing a proper JRPG. And like, that was kind of weird, and there were a few links that they've done there. You can kind of summon in a friend's character to help you temporarily, and you can link abilities between your characters and your friend's characters, and it all gives you nice little advantages. And it was just weird. Like the combat works really, really nicely, and the whole game is kind of seems to be focused on making a game that just gets that nailed. And then they have these weird social things on top, which are nice and they're fun, but they're also not something I'm used to having in that kind of game.
I must say, though, actually, Street Pass is not as bad as it was. When I first got a 3DS, it'd be like, whenever you got a Street Pass, it'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
The only time then we got Street Passes was because I was working in the same office as Visual Nintendo magazine, so I definitely get 3 a day.
Yeah, right.
But
there's a guy downstairs who works at Subway who I've passed multiple times now. He's got me through Bravely Default.
Well, that's it. Like, thank you, man. Just go in and be like,
the Subway guy.
Give me a hug, man. Dude, come on, help me. That's it. Like, it's all right now, but it used to be, even when you just go through London or go to big events and stuff, you just, outside of gaming expos, you just wouldn't get any Street Passes at all. Which is kind of cool, because it means you can kind of get a sense that the console is getting more popular.
Yeah.
Just because there are more people out in the wild.
And like I say, it was only like literally the last boss fight I just didn't really have the equipment for, and I felt I was having to wait longer than I would have liked to. Up until that point, I hadn't needed any of the Street Pass stuff. I did that stuff solo, damn straight. And
good for you,
and
man.
I really enjoyed it.
You did it.
A lot of people are saying it's what Final Fantasy should be or used to be, and that's very true. It's a very nice.
Well, I might just jump in straight to the main game and just play the story.
The demo does complement it really well. I'm not sure if any of those quests are even in the main game. I know some part of it isn't, and you get kind of a few bonuses for playing the demo first. So when you do play the main game, you have like a few items when you start. Nothing groundbreaking, but like it does. I like it when demos try and work into the game really nicely.
I might check that out first then. But on the topic of JRPG things, actually, quite a few people, after we made our 3DS video last year, basically talking about all the good 3DS games and why you should buy a 3DS. If you haven't watched that, you should, because, my God, really good games. One of the games I mentioned really briefly, and somebody said, please play it and let us know what you think, was Crimson Shroud. And I played it, and I really like it.
Yeah?
It's really odd in the fact that I think, they were on sale. I don't know if they're still on sale, but they're all half price, the level 5 games. It's about a $5.
It's one of those, is it? Right.
And it's about a $5. It's a JRPG based on little like die-cast models and dice, and it lasts 4 hours.
I beg your pardon, sir.
It's basically like Dungeons and Dragons, which is really a compliment, because the characters aren't actually models, but the characters are represented by models. So instead of having cutscenes, you have static images of the models and then text on the screen, and you just read the story.
Yeah.
But it has, because it's just like you read the story, and whenever you move to a new area on the map, it gives you like a really rich description of the room you're in and stuff. And then usually has one of the characters going, this reminds me of when I first met one of the other characters. And it goes like, you have the option to reminisce, at which point it gives you more plot.
Press X to romance.
But because it's a 4-hour story, and because it's really self-contained, it just means it has gives you a really rich sense of the world and the characters, has some really interesting ideas, their relationships, and then wraps itself up really quickly. And it's just, it doesn't feel like it needs to be an epic story arc. It just tells a small, simple story.
Yeah.
Which was kind of jarring, because it's sort of a bit annoying when you spent a while like leveling up some characters and getting them good stuff, and then suddenly the game just ends. You know, but I just like killed all those goblins. Yeah. But at the same time, the story was really satisfying, and it was just really awesome to play a game that was quite clearly inspired by Dungeons and Dragons, where
that's cool though.
You roll dice to hit stuff, and roll dice for damage, and
I missed that.
I think
it's really good fun.
Like Bravely Default was satisfying. In the other end, it was nice to just have a game that nailed the combat, and in the demo at least hasn't shown much of a story. Like it, yeah. I guess we kind of expect certain things from JRPGs now. They have to be like 87 hours long, and the combat has to be a bit fiddly. It's nice to see, like,
yeah, definitely,
especially 3DS games as well.
And also because it was nice having such a simple story, because the story was like kind of interesting and dark, and did that really nice narrative thing of like, you know, having one of the characters basically like has the thing where it's like it starts off with the character being interrogated, and it's like that's at the end of the game,
right? Okay,
but then you go back and the start of how they got to that position, sort of thing, you know, the classic narrative thing. But then when you actually put the pieces together and you realize how the situation looks at the start, it has a kind of like movie style sort of twist. It's good. It's good. It's frustrating because it gets to a point where it ends at a point at which you kind of want to carry on, and you kind of think, oh wow, I wish this was a longer game. But at the same time, I should say it's made by the guy who made Vagrant Story.
Okay.
And it has the exact same flaws that Vagrant Story had, and the exact same benefits. It's got beautiful, earthy art style, really nice palette, really detailed, but also the UI is fucking terrible. It's like really heavy with text and numbers and bars. It's really hard to work out what the fuck you're doing. Equipping new items, it's probably a good job the game's quite short, because changing your equipment is something that you do fairly often, and it's really, really fucking hard to work out what does what, and it's just generally like, what the fuck is this? But if you're an RPG fan and you fancy something a bit unusual, it's a really good way to spend a Sunday afternoon.
There you go.
Oh, those are the guys that have made a few shorter games for the 3DS.
Yeah, it's a really awesome idea. I think I can't remember if I talked about it on the last podcast, but
the three-way.
There's the level 5 thing where basically they've just got loads of classic, like really well-respected Japanese game developers to make mini games.
Smart.
They're all like 5 hours long, and because of that, they're all like passion projects by really famous designers. And I think it is quite a cool reminder that, you know, a lot of people say, you know, obviously the whole thing with Phil Fish saying Japanese designers, your games suck, which caused lots of like trouble. I kind of agree with him a lot of the time, but it is nice to see that there are still incredible ideas.
Yeah.
I do still actually, and I'll probably get flack for this, but I do agree with what Phil Fish was saying in the fact that a lot of the time, because they have these auteur-led games that are like really big, they end up like really bad in some ways. Like Ni no Kuni was bollocks. Like it was
very
great,
Japanese. Used to mean it's very awesome, and now it means it's, you know, obtuse or impenetrable, or there are, you know, obfuscates everything you do. And
that's the thing. I like the weirdness and I like the inventiveness.
Yeah,
but there are some aspects like, I think Ni no Kuni, the more I think about that game, because a lot of people I saw playing Ni no Kuni over Christmas, very good family game, but it's very frustrating that it pairs this incredibly difficult and fiddly and frustrating combat system that you have to be kind of you have to game it basically, otherwise you're just going to get killed by it, with a game that is so like hand-holdy and aimed at like 4-year-olds. It just does so many things. It has the most beautiful aesthetic of any game released last year, probably. The art style and the music are just stunning, beautiful. But game design wise, it's about 15 years in the past.
Classic. Always.
It's classic Japanese game design mistake. And I don't like the fact that Western games often end up feeling a bit more mulched and, you know, homogenous and less interesting and clever. But at least they fucking like
the menus aren't.
At least they don't do
terrifying.
Insane things with menus.
It's true. That's true.
You know, that's what I'm getting at, really.
Yeah.
But
there you go.
Anyway, questions, Mr. Brandt.
Questions. 1 second. That was a stretch. Let's have a look here. We've got like 2 weeks of questions, but I've picked some of the best ones from the forum lands. We have Triceratops, who asks, "What are your?" You got a problem there, Simon?
I like Triceratops.
This Rhino thing.
Yeah, exactly.
What are your gaming resolutions or changes for 2014?
Play more iOS games.
Play more iOS games. I think I was going to make a terrible resolution joke about the fact that we do actually need to get up to 1080p on our YouTube channel more often, but now I've explained it, I feel like I shouldn't make that joke.
Yeah, you've embarrassed yourself. I know.
There we are.
And actually, not really. I uploaded that video I made about how to mod Dark Souls in 1080p, and it still looked rubbish. Like,
yeah.
it doesn't. I mean,
or Dark Souls on the video.
The video. It's really frustrating because I was kind of like,
it's kind of good. Yeah.
I encoded it in a really like high quality format, so I thought even if with the loss of YouTube, it'll still look good because the quality of the file I'm uploading is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Didn't. It just lost so much detail.
That's
Even
what YouTube does.
Even the static shots, the encoding, and that's the thing is everyone's like, "Oh, this video's not 1080p." Honestly, like when you're dealing with the level of compression at hand anyway, it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because honestly, when you actually play Dark Souls in proper HD on a PC, it looks fucking beautiful. On YouTube in HD, looks alright.
You always have to kind of bear that in mind. The compression on it is
it's balls.
I
I have any game resolutions. I'm not excited about 2014 at the moment, game-wise. It needs more, a lot more. Come on, people.
Right.
Big it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Raise the bar.
I think that
Like
was.
James
I think that
Cameron.
was inspiring, but
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to try and play some games.
try and play some games.
I'm going to try and
Resolution.
and I'm not sure on the legality of this one.
Don't kill anyone.
No, I just want to get a very comprehensive ROM selection of old platforms, and I own all the cartridges, obviously,
All of them.
But I want my SNES and Mega Drive and whatever games to just be in one easily accessible place. Like a library, essentially. Like
Get an Xbox One. Not an Xbox. I don't mean an Xbox One. I mean the original Xbox. Because they
proved my
remain-
point.
Yeah.
So don't come after me, Sega or Nintendo, whatever.
Right. Good. I've got from Twitter, we've got Taika masks with Titanfall 6v6 gate.
I'm actually going to make a video about that today.
How is that gay?
No,
It's a developer decision. It's probably really
it's a joke,
smart.
Simon.
Well, I'm
He's
talking to
making
the
a
people
joke.
that are making
He even
a fuss.
hashtagged it to
Do
show
you
that
really
it's a
think?
joke.
I always forget which one left. Zampella or West?
Both. No.
West left.
West.
Zampella's still
West
there.
left,
Right. So Zampella sat there with his dudes and said, "I think 6on6 works." They went, "Yeah, it does work." That is literally it. There's no need to get mad.
I haven't actually seen anyone get mad.
yeah.
I've just
No,
seen
I've
people
seen
get mad.
people get
about
mad.
it.
There's so much disappointment.
Am I in the
and-
right
What do
place
they
on the
want?
internet, then?
What do they want? 700 versus 700.
Yes, they do. That's
Well,
the
it won't
fucking
work. Go
problem.
play. What was that? Massive
Action
action game. Fuck off. Like, that was absolute bollocks because A, no one played it, and you had these maps that were the size of small worlds. So you just ran around going, "This is the most lonely experience of my life."
I mean, PlanetSide 2 is good, but it's a very different kind of game.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
like the Battlefield games have massive player counts, but it's for a
They're
different reason.
different.
It's so you can have infantry versus tanks.
It's called
and there's
Battlefield.
Yeah.
The clue's in the name. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it.
I'm in the same boat as Miller, and actually, before I did this, I just sort of vaguely scripted out. I am going to make a very short video about it because I just find it like really abhorrent that people think they know better than these people. It's just like, fuck yourselves, honestly.
Just to even put the finger and
If it-
go,
yeah, if it's-
technical limitations. No!
Oh, well,
if it's
yeah,
developer
like-
creativity, they
Yeah,
sat
if
there,
it's a design
played it for
decision,
fucking
it's a different-
years, and when it doesn't work with more than 12. Gears of War is a perfect example for this. Most Gears, I mean, it was 5-on-5 is... I think it was 4-on-4 on Gears of War, the original game, I think. But it's definitely 5-on-5, Gears 2 and 3, apart from some other modes. And it worked perfectly because of the slow, plodding combat. If there was too more people, you would just have bumped into people too much.
I still go back to Halo 3 all the time, and I hate the big team battle stuff. The 4v4
I
games
quite like Big
are-
Team, but the 4v4 are superior.
I just
Oh, yeah,
love it.
I've got
Like-
nothing wrong with Battlefield's incredible. Mag didn't work because no one played it. I'm sure there was potential there. But a game like Titanfall, which seems very Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4-ish, quick, fast-paced, intense. You don't want too many people there because it will destroy that the rhythm.
It just makes me laugh that people think that they've made this game in which you can jetpack, run up walls, call in mech suits from outer space, and yet when they got to a number of people online, they've just been like, "Oh, we can't really make it work with more than 12." Like, no,
I think it's fantastic.
No.
I think it's fantastic. Someone's actually looked at it and going, "What works?
Yeah,
what works?"
of course.
So in Killzone 2 tried 64 players, and again, I get it. You want to.
I've just had. I talked about this on Twitter this morning. I had a couple of people come back to me being like, "Well, actually, using this half-baked knowledge of how game development works," and they're saying, "Well, actually, obviously, they aim big and then have to scale it back because of tech limitations. That's how game development works." It's like, no, it's not like they go in and go, "We're going to have 100 versus 100 people. Oh, that doesn't work. Okay, let's try 80 against 80." They tested it, and there's a bunch of reasons. And you know what? Actually, let's just be fucking obvious about this. People saying, "Oh yeah, but it's obviously should have been more people because there's bots in it." It's like, no, because this is the fucking core of the matter. When you have bots that you're fighting against, those bots are not able to call down robots from the sky, and more importantly than that, they don't want to. Because can you imagine joining up a game of Titanfall and goes, "Yeah, you can't have a robot in this game because there's already 6 robot players.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we can't have that many robots, it'll just get too messy. What do? You leave the game and you find another game.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. It's like they want to give the sense of a battle, but they don't want everyone to have robots. The only other solution is to have it so that either A, some people don't get robots by chance or have to take it in turns.
Yep.
If you have to take it in turns, after I've done a match with a robot, I'm going to quit the lobby
and go do another one.
and play another one until I'm a robot. Or you have a game which is basically the core of the problem with Call of Duty, where it's you have to earn the robot, and the best players get robots as a reward, and no one else does.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
It's a smart decision. I'm completely stand behind them.
Yeah, and
internet commenters, you are not the people who made Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare was the best the best deathmatch game of all fucking time.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
And it's the map flow with Call of Duty, with Modern Warfare, and I presume with Titanfall, it's the map flow. This is a strange example, but a friend of mine, he used to be really, really good at Modern Warfare, and I was like, how are you so good at it? And he's like, well, I play it like it's a racing game.
I used to like it. Yeah.
He's like, I run around the map, and essentially the corners, so the challenges, are the other competitors, but I just keep on going. I keep on going around until I run into people, and then I deal with it. And I was like, actually, that's an incredible way of thinking. It's a victory if I get back round without dying.
It's exactly how I used to play. There's an airport level. It's exactly how I used to do it. I had a path that I would run around.
And when you think, so it was perfectly balanced for that amount of people. So if you're using the people as kind of corners, you don't want 6,000 corners in a racetrack, do you?
Like Modern Warfare was perfectly balanced for the number of people, the equipment available, the maps.
Yeah.
And they nailed that. And in Modern Warfare 2, they did to traditional sequelitis bollocks, where they kind of had a few more people, more stuff, bigger maps. Didn't really work as well.
Yeah, it's still good, but not
with
as
this,
good.
like, they're kind of reinventing it again. They're making, verticality is a phrase that's been bastardized by every publisher under the sun for the past 10 years, but they've made something where the arenas are different. And if they've made these maps and they're testing this new style of a deathmatch, and they've tested it and they've decided that 6v6 is what feels the most fun,
then it makes sense.
Fucking hoorop-de-doo.
I would put all the money I have, which admittedly is not very much, but I'd put all on it that at one point Respawn Entertainment has played Titanfall with 64 players, 32 versus 32, and just gone, this is bollocks, scale it down. Of course they have. You don't think they have the tech to do that? Of course they have the fucking tech to do that.
Yeah, even if they test it. Because then if they work out it's the most fun thing in the world, then they make compromises elsewhere and go, well, we've got to make the graphics
exactly.
good.
Exactly.
I know that there's always a case of backseat driving industry, but it makes me mad when it's not even like a new developer putting something out and people going, oh, that's not going to work. Like, you know what, regardless of what you think about IW, they have had egos in the past. I thought the way that they dealt with Treyarch and the way they treated them was pretty shitty, frankly. I don't think they might not be the nicest people in the world, but fuck me, those guys know how to make deathmatch games.
Who asked this question? Who was it? What's his name?
Steve,
I think
New Year's resolution.
Put a hashtag in front of it. Also, I didn't finish the question, so it might be something entirely
Look what they've done. Already half a question in.
Sorry, I've done. You touched on something that I've been making.
I agree. It's bollocks.
There'll be a video up today, or I'll probably say similar things. But if you want to watch it, then watch it.
With Titanfall 6v6 gate occurring, what was your favourite Christmas present?
I'd say that.
No, absolutely not. Okay, what else we got? We've already talked about Telltale.
My Christmas present was a fucking internet commenter's head in a bag.
Simon, your New Year's resolution is now. Last year you murdered everyone on your list. You've got to stop making lists this year.
You're probably right.
Too much blood.
Right. Monk from the forums says, "What do you guys think of the art and creepy animated videos?"
Is that the forum? I know where Bratters lives video.
I like them. I like
the first one. Made me laugh so much.
And what in the second one, because you were in it as a sunflower.
That
or something.
scared me.
Yeah,
I like him. Send him more. More of Bratters is always good. Send him more of Bratters.
No, I haven't been home since watching that video. And one last question. I'm going to go with John Jones on Twitter asks, "What do you think could be an acceptable price point for PlayStation Now? And do you think it could be the nail in Microsoft's coffin?"
$5.99.
Yeah, I think Netflix. Yeah, Netflix. Got to be Netflix.
You think a subscription?
But it would
model
use a higher bandwidth, though, wouldn't it? So that may fucking.
It depends what they're offering. If it's cut down versions,
Netflix has got to be pretty mental bandwidth.
Yeah,
to do what it does.
You're right. What stupid thing to say.
I don't know what's going on with that.
Ignore
I streamed 13 episodes of House of Cards in about a day at 1080. So
yeah,
think about how many.
It's well HD,
yeah, you're
man.
right, actually. Yeah, I think they got to go Netflix. What's Love Film? $7.99. So around that kind of.
For people who haven't seen the news, it was last night, right, or yesterday if you're in America. It was So it's like they're
Last night is still yesterday.
Yeah, but
I missed
was
what
from the
happened.
daytime.
I haven't read the
Basically,
news.
streaming. They want to make it. It's called PlayStation Now. That's the basic.
Yeah,
headline
so
of it.
it's
PlayStation
gonna-
Live.
Well, they
games.
bought that thing, didn't they?
Yeah,
So
Gaikai.
It's going to be PlayStation titles, but not necessarily limited to PlayStation consoles. One of the things
you can play it on your phone and shit.
or
Smart
play
move.
PlayStation 4 games, perhaps on other devices. Which it's very vague at the moment, but I can't imagine.
I don't know. It's got to be basic stuff. You can't stream, like, it's lag.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, for certain genres don't work on it, but like, I quite liked On Live at a time for strategy games, slow paced stuff.
Oh, there you
I
are.
think it
I
worked.
wondered where you were.
On Live was funny though, because I remember they sent out press units to lots of people.
Oh yeah.
And
They were desperate.
They were desperate. I didn't get one myself, but it was pretty much just a case of if you asked for one,
They give you it, yeah.
get a press kit, you
Oh,
get
it's-
access to a press account. The press account had all the games on it,
Yeah.
and this was the dodgy part: is that it seemed like, in retrospect, that the press kind of got better service. Like,
Of course they did.
it seemed like the service was really good for press, and then
Yeah, Metro, when I played it, was really good. I was
as
like, oh,
good, didn't run as well when people who bought it played it, and then they just
me, that
kind of
died,
switched off
didn't
the
it?
press server.
What is the situation with On Live now?
I don't
Because it
know,
still
I don't
exists, doesn't it?
It's
Like
dead.
But
Like,
I don't know anyone who's using it.
It's as alive as.
But I mean-
Glenn Miller.
PlayStation have got. I don't know. They've got the
Glenn
brand,
Miller
the
is still
games.
vanished. You know that he's still disappeared. No one knows what happened to him.
Who?
Glenn Miller.
I don't know who he
I
is.
don't know. I
Is that his name? Is it Glenn Miller? No, it's not Glenn
It's
Miller.
not relative.
The orchestra dude, musician guy. Went on a plane crashed, never found his body. No one knows what happened to him.
Like Richie from Manic Street Preachers.
Yeah.
Was it Richie? He just
Just
disappeared.
Oh no,
didn't
we
he?
all know what happened with Richie from the Manic Street Preachers. they basically thought, oh sod this, we want to write some sort of feel good, happy tune.
Yeah, we got to get rid
on
of
some
this
bank adverts. Let's just park his car on this bridge. No one will ask any questions.
And,
dunno, man.
that's what happened to On Live.
Yeah,
That's what happened to online.
Right.
Richie from
They
Manic
did a
Street
Richie.
Preachers,
They
yeah.
thought, bloody hell, let's get rid of this
Yeah,
guy.
brilliant.
He's really doing some
I'm
weird
not
stuff
sure
on
whether
live
this
telly.
is just incredible slander.
He's not slandered the dead. Lol.
He's
No,
not
you
coming
can.
back
It's a
now.
joke.
Neither of them.
I think you're slandering the bandmates.
Yeah, well, I suppose that is actually technically, isn't it? Yeah.
Saying he murdered
Everything
their
must
colleague.
go. It's a good album.
Everything must go. Come on, the signs were all there.
Oh, it's like Paul McCartney.
Obviously, this is all a joke. Please don't sue me, Manic Street Preachers. I've heard you're actually really nice people in real life. Anyway, do you have any more questions?
That's pretty much. We need to announce the winner of the podcast competition from last month. We have the winner was Ian Oakley, who did like a proper comic strip and everything. Look at that.
Yeah, it's good.
My
We're
God.
going to be doing a gallery video later on, showing some of our favourites. So it will
I've got to
be
say, though,
included
actually,
in that.
this is the winner of the official competition, but those of you who are avid listeners will remember there was a secondary competition, which was Simon Miller saying he would give a game from his own pocket.
I did
or
too.
collection to somebody who did the best picture of Chris Pratt as an elf. And I've got to say, the winner of that was fucking phenomenal. The
Mate,
picture
do
of
you
that.
have it there? Have you got it there? I've seen it.
Ram the
obviously.
Dragon. No, I guess
You
we'll-
explain it, Brad.
Should we
Explain
put
what
that
it
in at
was.
the very end? Of,
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We'll put it in at the very end of this gallery video. But yeah, the competition, the main competition, one wasn't hijacked.
But that winner
by
of Brat's
Simon's
competition got a
nonsense.
game. Not only that, they got a game of their choice, which was never the deal.
Which you got to moan about.
I got screwed into that one, but
Wow.
they've still got a game of their choice. So yeah, there you go. Thank you for that. That made me very happy.
But yeah, and we've also got member of the month on the forums was Minty Rebel. Vote of the month was GOH2102.
H.
You can win video games by being nice, unlike Steve on Video Gamer forums. And
Well,
yeah,
it's got all grammatical up in this house.
I just completely ignored it.
That's fine. Well done to everybody that won. You get games.
Congratulations. And congratulations to those of you who didn't win, because you've
Yeah, you're
managed
right.
to be alive for another day in this
Yeah.
crazy old planet.
It's true.
/ reality. That's it for this week. And thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thanks
You
for coming
have
back.
a lovely day. We'll see you next week.
Dream of fairies.
Bye. Kind of forgot how to end podcast.